Good morning, everyone. This is Matt over at milestonecapitalgrowthportfolio.com, and I hope you're having a great start to your weekend. I want to go over a few charts that you could look at over the weekend in multiple time frames, and a time frame you don't normally look at. And why is that important? So you could see a trend or what to look for. And a lot of people don't look at the chart that I'm going to start with, but I'd like to cover real quick Amazon, Facebook, Google, Apple. Hopefully, I don't miss any. We'll have to see what happens here. So really, I want to start on a longer time frame. I'm going to go with the quarterly chart, okay? And the quarterly for Amazon, you can see the momentum for the MACD histogram is right about at its peak. Your stow is at the top, and your slow stow is also at the top, and you're outside the Bollinger Band by about 50 bucks, somewhere in that area, okay? But you are higher than this candle, but remember, it's just a quarterly, so your relative strength index is at 78, so it's a little overextended here, and I'm not saying any of these are going to drop, but I want you to just take a look at different things going forward, and using multiple time frames. So Amazon really, if you look at the candle itself, this final candle is not making it up to the trend line itself, and that's a key indication that there's some selling starting to come into place. So with that double top there, on the on the monthly here, potentially, because we're ending this month, potentially we're going to get a reversal now on this one or a pullback. Typically, that's what happens when you don't have that full momentum to keep coming up and hitting the trend line as you did here and here. And then once you made this lower one, you could see what took place next. Okay, that's the same here. If you were following off of these three candles, you could reverse this, you could lower this back here and say, okay, here's my trend on these two candles, and then you could see where it started to create that double top and not reach up at this trend line. So Amazon could be taking a break now, and I think it's important that anybody who's in it or trading it or invested long term, and it's not a broken pattern. It's just something that you want to be aware of. So, you could say this is going to be, if you're in it long term, this is going to be a stop. You'll get a better position when you get on to the 50, the middle Bollinger Band. So you could see here, this is where the support was, and then it shot back up. Okay, so you usually get 2, 3, 2, 3. So the second one for the monthly could come down to hit the 521. We'll have to keep an eye on that and see what happens with market conditions. The reason I'm looking at these in a longer term, because like I've been planning, you've been watching my videos for quite some time, I think the market's going to roll over pretty heavy. Then we're going to have our low in August, and then we're going to have a nice bounce, and then we're going to drop until March. And after March, we should reverse to the upside. That's just from technicals that I have done over the last 2 years and done those videos. But anyway, so that's Amazon. You can see on the weekly too, dropping it down a little more. You're about to break the EMA 8, and when you break the EMA 8, understand what takes place. So really, you want to keep an eye on this from the weekly. You can see, we're starting to come down and take a little bit of a break. If next week we do lose this support on Amazon and close out the week under this EMA 8, look for it to get pretty aggressive after that. But your slow stow is, just channeling along the bottom, and your MACD is about to cross this line here after one more week, it looks like, unless it holds the support, and your stow just crossed too. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Okay, and we're going to go to Google now, because Google has been great for us also. I'm going to start with the quarterly on this one. And you could see the same thing has taken place here, and you're starting to come down from where the RSI was at 80. If you use the Skynet program, any of our members, the program that we created that just scans for different option setups, these five are going to be on there, and has told you what was going to take place. But you've had this beautiful uptrend, just like we were drawing on the other one, and now you're starting to get this here. So something definitely to be aware of. Here's your EMA 8 on the quarterly. It's come down quite a bit. It looks like it has some more to go. You're just crossing down, and you're crossing down on the quarterly. So, the EMA 8 has held for this for quite some time. So if if we do get the support right around the 646 area, then you can expect this to pop up. If it does break below this EMA8, look out below. But you'll see that on lower time frames where the issue is. We broke through this here. So you're looking at this, the middle Bollinger Band and the EMA8 to be right in the same area, the monthly and the quarterly. So you're going to get some pretty good support right here. So the issue is if this breaks, we could come down to this area here for a full reset. You could see you're at 52 right now for your relative strength index, and your MACD has just crossed down. So we do have some more momentum to the downside for this, in my opinion. But if you look at the weekly, you're pushing your lower Bollinger Band here. And one thing I want you to take note of that falls in line is a couple of these wicks. All right, it is a good indicator of a pattern support at this point. But there's one thing I want you to take a note of on a shorter term time frame. Okay, that's going to fall in line with that is if we drop this down to the daily and we follow this line right here. Okay, it's very important to see that we have a beautiful gap here on Google, and it's right down here at 600. So for me personally, it looks like there's going to be a 600 target by the end of the summer. So as long as the trend line does not break, that's going to be my target. You're in this consolidation area here that's going to be broken to the downside, and it already has been. You do have a little bit of support off of this candle right here, and this candle here. Is acting as support for now, but you do have a pretty ugly daily candle on this where we could get continued momentum to the downside. So keep an eye on that one. Facebook is the next one we're going to look at real quick. Facebook is the same thing. As I said, we're probably going to come get this. This for my trade members and for our regular members that we're going to get this first gap at 108, and we have some longer term support right here coming in at 105 if you follow that. But if you look at the quarterly on this, the same thing's taking place. You have a red candle coming in for the first one. You do have some EMA8 support at 93. There's also a gap there. Relative strength index is at 87, so it's definitely overbought. The conditions on the monthly are looking the same way. You have some support coming in here. You have some candle trend line support coming in here. But if this is broken right here, expect a nice move down to your middle Bollinger Band, which is going to be about 95. And like we said, 93 was the support on the quarterly chart. Dropping it down to the weekly, you can see we broke middle Bollinger Band. You can see where the support trend line is here down at lower Bollinger Band at 105. This is why it's a simple target for me. But if you do get momentum to the downside, you can see here that your 100 is in place and your 100 falls in line with the 93. Now, if you draw your new trend lines that are taking place on everything, you will see that your trend lines are fantastic and they follow this pattern here, and you could see we could probably get this here by about late August, early September, which I was targeting for all these lows before we start getting a bounce. But we'll have to see what happens on follow through on that. One more, we're going to look at Apple. Apple is my train wreck that I really like. We'll start here at the quarterly again and check this out. All right, we're at the middle Bollinger Band on the quarterly, acting as a little bit of support, but you could see everything is really just getting ready to get started to the downside. Dropping it down to the monthly, I want you to see here we have some support right here at the 100. We got triple bottom right here. If this breaks, though, watch out below because we're going to come down and test this 100 here. So it's really starting to push. There's no support right now. And if we go to the weekly, you could see a low Bollinger Band is right here. Now, what you want to do really on all of these is to keep this line in the sand, because on our bounces, we usually bounce up to these trend lines. And if you get, if you break through, then you're going to go higher to meet, some of these gap areas or a double candle resistance or whatever the case may be. Those would be the new targets or even the upper Bollinger Band. But for the most part, you could see until it's broken, it's no good. So on the shorter time frame on the weekly, you can see here if the weekly closes over that, if the weekly closes over that area, then over this trend line, excuse me, then it's going to come up and get this one. It's going to meet a little bit of resistance right here, but we're going to have to see what happens here on the weekly. You can see the weekly close just under the 200, so we could get momentum. And you can see here the trend line currently comes down to August also. So everything is really setting up for this this summertime dip. I think I hit everything: Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Google. Okay. If you have any questions, just email me. If you'd like to follow my trades and plan these trades out for, I'll be releasing new trades on Monday for the longer term, all the way out to August for all of these, and they're going to be option trades. And it's going to have the full plan. It's going to be strike price month, the whole 9 yards. So follow my trades. Just click on the link on this video or go to milestonecapitalgrowthportfolio.com and go to join us. In the first column, you can see there it's follow on WhatsApp, and you'll get my trade alerts prior to me getting into those. We've had a fantastic week. We were all set up for this drop on Friday. So 18 of the trades you could see on the newsletter are doing really well. We've also sold several, SPY 400%, SPY 132%, and so on and so forth. So join us, follow along, and you will have the fun trading the technicals with me, or tracking the progress. All right, everyone, have yourself a fantastic weekend. See you on Monday.